What is your love language, both in giving and receiving? This is kind of hard for me to answer, but I'll try my best. When it comes to receiving, I've always believed that it actually kind of, it almost wigged me out to hear Frio talk about this in the words that he used on one of his streams. I think it was him that talked about this, because I've never talked about this to them, like to any of the boys, but it very uncannily reflected my values. One of my strongest beliefs ever is that time is our most valuable currency as people. Like as humans, the most valuable and precious thing you can give or spend on anything or to anyone is time. Your time. It's finite, so it's super precious. So I think for me, when it comes to receiving, the ones that are most valuable to me and that make me the happiest are, it's probably quality time. Number one, just because like the thought of like spending time with someone and for them to set aside time for me makes me really happy. Either that or acts of service, but it's also a complicated one because on one hand, I do not like to depend on others. I'm really bad at it. I'm trying to get better at that, like leaning on others when I need to, but there's also something that makes me just want to break down and start crying out of joy to think that someone is like in the shadow of my eye, right? In the corner of my eye, just taking the time to do something for me to make my day a little easier. That they would spend their precious time on little old me. It really warms my heart. I'm not much of a... It's like I appreciate the sentiment of gifts, but I've never felt very good about receiving them. Every time I receive a gift in my brain, it's like, oh man, I gotta give them something twice as cool. And I always try my best, but I feel like I'm always stressed out, feeling like it's not a 50-50 situation when it comes to gifts. Whereas with like acts of service and favors or just like hanging out together, that's something I feel less transactional about, you know? But I do love to give gifts when it comes to giving, you know, shifting away from receiving. I love to give gifts to others. I love to put my time into... And this is also kind of where like time being precious comes in, right? I like to put my time into something. I like to make things. I'm not much of a gift buyer. If it's something really simple that like the main benefit here is that it's a little thing that I shouldn't have remembered, but I did remember, that's a gift that I'm willing to buy, but I like to make things. I like to, like for a lot of things I will like, sometimes if I can't do like any special gift or anything, I'll record a silly little message and put a bunch of effects and music to it, and I'll send that to my friends for their birthdays. I don't know, I've always been a gift giver. But I think my biggest giving language of all is probably acts of service.